Okay, so today we're diving into something maybe a little different for us.
Yeah.
You're looking to choose a tarot deck, and I gotta say,
hmm
judging by this stack of articles you sent over, I think you might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all the options out there.
Oh, yeah. I can definitely see that happening. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's like walking into a library where every book is whispering secrets at you.
It really is. There's just so much variety out there.
Exactly. And we're not even just talking about pretty pictures here, right?
No, not at
We're
all.
talking about like finding a deck that becomes like a tool for self-discovery for you.
Yeah, it's more like finding a key that unlocks a part of yourself than just picking a random book off a shelf.
Ooh, I like that. The key. So, how do we even begin to like sift through all these choices?
Right.
A lot of these articles, like Nine Surefire Ways to Select a Tarot Deck, are talking about, you know, personal resonance.
Yeah.
But like, what does that even feel like?
Well, it's kind of like when you walk into a room full of people, you're drawn to some more than others, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There's an energy there,
Yeah.
a vibe that either pulls you in or makes you kind of want to step back.
Yeah. So, we're talking about an energetic connection then, not just like, oh, that's a pretty picture.
Right, exactly. It goes deeper than just how it looks. It's more about how it makes you feel when you hold it.
Okay.
When you look at the images, when you read the descriptions, does it make you curious or excited?
Mhm.
Does it feel familiar?
Yeah, one of the articles, Select Tarot Cards, had this really interesting anecdote
Oh, yeah.
about someone who was really drawn to this cat-themed deck.
Okay.
And they were kind of like, I don't know if I should take this seriously, but it actually ended up being super insightful for them.
That's a great example because, it's easy to dismiss certain decks because they don't fit what we think tarot should be.
Right.
But sometimes those decks that surprise us are the ones that have the most potential.
So what if you're drawn to something totally different from what your friends are using?
hmm
Do you like go with what's popular or do you trust that inner nudge?
Always trust that nudge.
Or,
That's what Nine Surefire Way says.
right.
Like, go with your gut. Your intuition is going to be the best guide when it comes to picking a deck.
But how do you know if it's like a fleeting interest or if it's a genuine, like, this is the one kind of connection?
That's a good question. Ask yourself,
Yeah.
what is it about this deck that speaks to me?
Okay.
What feelings come up when I look at it?
Yeah.
If you keep finding yourself coming back to it and you're still excited about it, then that's a good sign.
So less about trends, more about that voice inside.
Exactly. Your tarot journey is unique to you. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to decks.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So let's say you've started to pay attention to that inner compass. How do you navigate the sea of different tarot deck types? How to pick the right tarot cards?
Yeah.
Broke it down by like experience level, which I thought was really helpful.
Yeah, that's a great place to start for beginners. I usually recommend the classic Rider-Waite deck. The imagery is pretty straightforward, and there are tons of resources out there to help you learn.
So it's like learning your ABCs before you try to write a novel.
Exactly. Once you've got those basics down, you can start to explore other styles.
Gotcha.
Born Under Saturn said that more experienced readers often like contemporary or specialized decks.
Yeah, the Thoth deck seemed to be popular with people who are more into symbolism and esoteric stuff.
Oh, yeah, the Thoth deck is fascinating.
That's it.
It's all about Kabbalah, astrology,
Hmm.
all those esoteric systems. It can be a really enriching experience if you're into that kind of thing.
Okay, but maybe not for like a total tarot newbie.
I mean, it depends on the person, but I think for someone just starting out, it's good to have a solid foundation with Rider-Waite
Yeah,
before jumping into the more complex interpretation.
makes sense. And then you've got oracle decks, themed decks, historical decks. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
How do we even start to categorize all of this?
Instead of getting caught up in categories, think about what you're interested in and what you want to use the deck for. Are you looking for straightforward guidance, or are you ready to dive into deeper spiritual concepts?
So it's not just about experience level. It's about finding a deck that aligns with like where you're at on your own path.
Exactly. The deck should feel like a natural extension of your own curiosity and exploration.
Now, tips for choosing your first tarot deck had this point about the artwork.
Yeah.
They were saying it's not just about aesthetics, but the artwork actually impacts how you connect with the cards.
Absolutely. Think about it this way.
Right.
If you're learning a new language, the way the words are presented can make a difference in how easy it is to understand.
Right.
The art style of a tarot deck can be like that too. It can either help you understand the cards or make it harder.
So, like, a deck with minimalist line drawings might give you a totally different feeling than a deck with all these, like, richly detailed, colorful scenes.
Exactly. The art style is like a visual language.
Huh.
It speaks to your subconscious. It adds layers of meaning to the cards.
There was a quote from Select Tarot Cards that really stuck with me. It said, "When I look at a card, I often feel an emotional response that guides my interpretation."
Yeah.
It's like the art itself can trigger those intuitive insights.
It's like the art creates a bridge between what you understand about the card intellectually and what you feel about it.
So we're not just analyzing symbols, we're also tapping into this deeper, more intuitive way of knowing.
Exactly. And that's where the magic really happens.
This is making me rethink how I choose decks. It's way more nuanced than I thought.
It's a process of self-discovery.
Speaking to using a deck, there's this whole thing about tarot decks having to be gifted to you.
Oh, yeah.
But Born Under Saturn totally debunked that myth.
Yeah, they made a really good argument for choosing your own deck.
Okay.
It's about taking ownership of your spiritual journey and choosing tools that resonate with you.
And hey, if you have your eye on a specific deck
Mm-hmm.
and the holidays are coming up,
Mm-hmm.
I think dropping hints is totally allowed.
Absolutely, put it out there.
All right, so we've talked about personal resonance deck types, artwork as a language.
Mm.
What are some other like practical things to keep in mind?
Well, 9 surefire ways reminded us to think about card size and quality.
Oh yeah.
Sounds kind of boring, but it can really make a difference in how you use the deck.
I can see that like giant cards might be fun for a party, but not super practical for every day.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And you want a deck that feels good in your hands,
Right.
with cardstock that won't fall apart after a few shuffles.
No flimsy cards.
Exactly. So where do you even go to find all these amazing decks?
Right.
Well, obviously the internet is a huge marketplace, but don't rule out those brick and mortar stores.
You mean those little shops full of crystals and incense?
Those are the ones.
I love those.
Local metaphysical shops or bookstores often have a really great curated selection of decks.
Yeah.
You can actually hold them and feel their energy before you buy them.
And you're supporting local businesses.
Plus, that's always a good thing. And a lot of times the people who work in those shops are really knowledgeable about tarot, so they can give you recommendations.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
This is already so helpful. I'm feeling a lot less overwhelmed and way more excited about actually finding a deck.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Now that we've got the basics down, let's look at some specific deck examples that the articles mentioned.
Okay.
Maybe we can unearth some hidden gems.
Let's do it.
Awesome.
All right. So we've laid some groundwork here. We know we need to trust our gut. We need to think about our experience level, and we need to pay attention to the art style.
Mhm.
But let's actually dive into some specific deck examples that these articles mentioned.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Maybe we can unearth some hidden gems together.
I love that idea. It's like we're on a treasure hunt
Yes,
through the world of tarot.
Okay, let's start with the classics. The Rider-Waite deck seems to be like the go-to for beginners.
Oh, yeah.
How to pick the right tarot cards. Even called it the foundation of modern tarot.
It really is. It's like the Rosetta Stone of tarot.
Oh, wow. If you can understand Rider-Waite symbolism, you can understand so many other decks.
So it's not just about it being old. I mean, it was created in the early 1900s, right?
Like 1909, I think.
Okay, so it's more about its influence on the whole tarot world.
Exactly. And, some people think the artwork is a little dated, but it's actually super rich in symbolism.
Really?
Yeah, every little detail, like the way the characters are dressed, even the background scenery, it all adds layers of meaning to the cards.
Speaking of symbolism, Born Under Saturn had this really cool section on how, like, even the simple Rider-Waite imagery can have all this hidden depth.
Oh, yeah.
And they actually have these weekly deep dives into the symbolism.
I've seen those. Those are great.
Yeah, so something to keep in mind if that classic style is calling to you.
Definitely.
Okay, so Rider-Waite, solid starting point. But what about for people who are ready to go a little bit beyond the basics? The Thoth deck seems to be really popular with folks who are more into the, like, esoteric side of things.
Yeah, the Thoth deck is definitely more complex.
It was created by Aleister Crowley, who was an occultist,
Okay.
and it pulls a lot from Kabbalah, astrology, Egyptian mythology.
It sounds intensely powerful.
It is. It's known for that really vibrant geometric artwork, and it really emphasizes the psychological and spiritual side of tarot.
So this is like a deck for people who are ready to go deep.
Yeah, like deep into the mysteries of the self.
I can see why it would appeal to people who are drawn to those like more esoteric traditions.
For sure.
Tips for choosing your first tarot deck. Did say that it could be kind of overwhelming for beginners, though.
Yeah, it's not really a deck you can just pick up and start reading. You have to study it. You have to contemplate it.
Hmm.
It's not about memorizing meanings. It's about understanding these big principles and how they connect to your life.
So it's not even just about like the level of knowledge, but the type of knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. With the Thoth deck, you're not just learning about tarot, you're learning about this whole system of esoteric thought.
Wow. Okay. So moving away from the classics a little,
Yeah.
we have tons of modern decks to choose from. Tips for choosing your first tarot deck. Mention the Wild Unknown, which seems to be like the darling of Instagram.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a really good example of a modern deck that so many people connect with.
Okay.
It has that minimalist black and white artwork.
I've seen it.
Yeah, with the animals and the nature scenes, and it just has this really raw, primal energy.
It's definitely visually striking.
And it seems to resonate with people on this really deep, intuitive level.
Why do you think that is?
I think it speaks to our subconscious, you know?
Yeah.
It bypasses our logical mind and taps into those deeper emotions and instincts.
So maybe it's a good choice for someone who wants a more intuitive, less structured approach to tarot.
Definitely, it encourages you to trust your gut and just let those images speak to you.
And then there are theme decks, which seem like a fun way to kind of personalize your tarot experience.
Oh, theme decks are so much fun.
Are they?
They let you connect with tarot through the things you're already passionate about. Like, there are decks inspired by mythology and fairy tales and pop culture, even science fiction.
So, like, if you're obsessed with the Greek mythology,
Mhm.
you could find a deck that has gods and goddesses instead of the traditional figures.
Exactly. It's like making tarot more relevant to your own journey.
How to pick the right tarot cards.
Yeah.
Highlighted a few modern decks that have unique art styles, like they mentioned the Prisma Visions Tarot, which uses watercolors
Oh, yeah.
to create this really dreamlike, ethereal feeling.
It's beautiful. The Prisma Visions is stunning. It's like stepping into a whole different world,
That's cool.
full of color and emotion.
And then we have oracle decks, which aren't technically tarot but still offer guidance and insight.
Yeah, oracle decks are great.
Are they?
They're like a complement to tarot.
Okay.
They have a more loose structure and more specific themes,
Okay.
like self-care relationships, creativity.
So if you're looking for guidance in a specific area of your life, maybe an oracle deck would be a good option.
Yeah, exactly. And because they're not bound by that traditional tarot structure, they can offer some really fresh perspectives.
Okay, so we've gotten a taste of the classics. We've looked at some modern favorites. We've talked about theme decks, even oracle decks. It seems like there really is a deck out there for everyone.
There really is. It's amazing the variety out there.
It reflects the fact that there are so many different ways to approach self-discovery.
That's true.
So let's say you've narrowed down your choices to a few contenders.
Okay.
What are some practical things to keep in mind before you actually make that final decision?
Well, we talked about card size and quality.
Yeah.
Think about how you're actually going to use the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be doing readings on the go, or are you mostly going to be using it at home?
Okay.
Do you have bigger hands and need bigger cards?
Yeah.
And the cardstock quality is important too. You want something that's durable,
Right.
that can handle being shuffled over and over.
Yeah. No flimsy cards.
Exactly. And don't forget about the guidebook.
Oh, yeah?
Some decks come with these huge, in-depth guidebooks that give you detailed interpretations and spreads.
Yeah.
Others have just really basic pamphlets.
So if you're a beginner, that guidebook could be super helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And even for more experienced readers,
Mm-hmm.
a really well-written guidebook can offer some fresh insights, even on cards you think you know well.
Okay, so we've covered the basics of choosing a deck.
Mm-hmm.
We've explored the different types from classic to modern. We've talked about practical things like card size and the guidebook.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about connecting with your chosen deck and actually using it for self-discovery.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so you've made the big decision. You've found the deck that like spoke to your soul from the shelf.
Yeah,
But it's more than just a purchase, right?
definitely.
A lot of these articles talk about like building a relationship with your cards.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we go from like just admiring the pretty pictures to actually working with them?
It's kind of like when you bring home a new pet, you know?
Okay.
You wouldn't just expect them to understand your routine right away and like all the rules of the house.
Right.
There's a getting to know you period. You got to learn how to communicate with each other.
So no pressure to like launch into a full-on reading right away, select tarot cards. Had this suggestion about holding the deck, closing your eyes, and just like feeling its energy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of like the initial introduction?
Yeah, that's a great way to start. Just like when you meet someone for the first time, you might shake their hand,
Right.
make eye contact, get a sense of their presence.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing with a deck.
Okay.
Hold it in your hands, feel the texture of the cards. Just notice what comes up for you. Any thoughts? Any feelings?
So we're not even looking at the pictures yet. We're
Yeah.
just like tuning into the vibe. Is
Exactly.
there like a right way to do this? Do I need to be meditating or chanting or something?
No, just keep it simple. Find a quiet space. Sit comfortably. Hold the deck close to your heart. Close your eyes and breathe.
Okay.
See what you feel, warmth tingling, a sense of calm excitement. Just trust your intuition.
A couple of the articles even said like sleep with the deck under your pillow. Is
Yeah.
that like a thing?
It can be, some people find that it helps them get familiar with the energy of the deck.
Okay.
It's like introducing them to your space, making them feel welcome.
I'm a little skeptical about the whole under the pillow thing. I toss and turn a lot. I wouldn't want to damage the cards.
Oh, yeah, I get that. It's really about finding what feels right for you.
Oh.
Maybe instead of under your pillow, you keep it on your nightstand or carry it around with you for a few days.
Yeah.
The important thing is to build that connection.
Okay, so we've hung out with our deck. We've felt its energy. Maybe we've even had some weird dreams about it.
Right.
Now, what do we jump straight into, like, complex spreads and asking life-altering questions?
Not quite yet. Remember, we're still in that relationship building phase.
Oh, right.
Start with simple interactions like 9 surefire ways, suggests pulling a single card every day,
Okay.
and just reflecting on what it means in relation to your day.
So, like, asking your deck, hey, what's the energy for today?
Exactly. It's like having a little check-in. A little conversation with your deck every day, building that trust and understanding over time.
And then as you get more comfortable, you can start trying out different spreads.
Yeah, there are so many spreads out there.
There are?
From the classic 3-card spread to the more intricate Celtic cross.
It seems like it would be kind of daunting for a beginner to know, like, which spread to use or even just how to interpret the cards once they've pulled them.
It can be, for sure. That's where guidebooks and online resources come in handy.
Right.
But Born Under Saturn made a good point about not getting too hung up on the literal meanings in the guidebook.
Yeah, they're really encouraging people to trust their intuition and let the cards speak to them in their own language.
It's not about memorizing keywords, it's about that deeper connection.
So it's about developing your own like personal language with the cards.
Exactly. Tarot is a language, and just like any language, it takes time and practice to really understand it.
Hmm.
But the more you work with your deck, the more those interpretations are going to become more nuanced and meaningful to you.
This has been so helpful. I feel like I'm actually getting what it means to connect with the tarot deck. Now, it's not just about picking out pretty cards. It's about this whole journey.
Yeah, it's about self-discovery.
And this is really just the beginning, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There are endless ways to work with tarot, and your journey is going to be totally unique.
Exactly. Embrace the mystery, trust your intuition, and have fun.
I'm definitely feeling that sense of excitement and possibility.
Good.
For anyone listening who's ready to dive into the symbolism of the Rider-Waite deck, be sure to check out those Friday posts on Born Under Saturn that we mentioned.
Yes, definitely.
And if you're curious about ancient wisdom and how it might inspire like unexpected tarot themes, sounds like a quest.
It does. The world of tarot is so vast and it's always evolving. There's always something new to discover, and the journey itself is the real reward.
So go forth, explore, and let the cards guide you. Happy shuffling.